Would President Barack Obama reverse the cycle of history? Chapter 12. Here is just going to be a quick introduction to Barack Obama. He was born August 4th, 1961 in the state of Hawaii. He ran for president in 2008 and won against his opponent Hillary Clinton. He stayed as president until 2017. His vice president was our now current president, Joe Biden, and he was the first black person to serve as president in the United States. What does Obama stand for? He said that he would end gridlock, wanted better health care, was pro-immigration, and wanted reforms for both the education and the environment. He also wanted to take troops from Iraq. Specifically in 2013, he had an agenda that had immigration reform, gun control, climate control, economic growth, and implementing the Affordable Care Act. Going into office in 2008, Obama faced a lot of challenges. Can he reverse the actions of the many conservatives in the office before him? How can he better the major downturn of the economy at this time? Can he fix the problematic healthcare system? And can he better the inequalities for everyone? A major problem that Barack Obama faced was the Great Recession in the late 2000s. It was a slow economic recovery from the stock market crash in 2001. It caused low housing prices and hedge fund suffering. And also a major cause of it was the elimination of regulation for banks. The regulations prevented banks from trading in stocks or other investments, but it also required people to be able to actually pay for their home mortgage, to have a hefty down payment and enough income to be able to get a loan. But since these regulations were taken away, people got loans that they really couldn't afford, and they were looking towards the future to be able to sell houses to actually be able to afford them, which wasn't possible with the really bad economy during this time. Some things that Obama did during his presidency include signing the American Recovery and Investment Act, which is the stimulus plan, and the purpose was to make jobs and preserve jobs to help those who got impacted by the recession and be able to provide investments. It also invested in transportation and environmental protection and helped stabilize the government budgets. He also made a program to help homeowners at the risk of foreclosure. While he did make an attempt to help, it didn't really help many because they had lost a lot of jobs during that, and even the bankers didn't want to modify loans. Some more things that Obama did while in office was that he wanted to decrease chances of terrorism. He did this through speeches and let a Muslim leader place a mosque near the Twin Towers. He set a date for withdrawal of U.S. troops in Iraq, banned torture on people he imprisoned for terrorism, wanted to close Guantanamo Bay. He wasn't actually able to do that because there was a heavy opposition from Republicans during this time. He also increased cooperation with the Russian government and wanted to move U.S. to the forefront of environmental controls. He committed the U.S. to cut carbon emissions by 17% by 2020, and then he also wanted to cut carbon emissions by 80% by 2050. Obama's first year in office, he kept 91 out of 502 promises that he made, but he also made progress on 285 of them. He convinced Congress to allow the sending of $350 billion in TARP funds. He also extended the EITC and made impressive gains in foreign affairs. But by the second year, job approval ratings have fallen considerably because the recession was not improving. He was also attacked by liberals for increased troop commitments to Afghanistan. Moving on to the midterm election, Obama wasn't doing the best. He had lost lots of support from moderates and independents, and he was also heavily criticized by Republicans because of the stimulus plan, TARP, and the rescuing on General Motors. He also didn't get enough credit for the good that he'd done, like his improvement of healthcare and financial reforms. The 2010 elections were overall bad for Democrats, since Republicans took control of the House. President Barack Obama wasn't able to fulfill a lot of promises because of his very conservative Supreme Court. It actually was the most conservative Supreme Court in up to 4 decades, and that was caused by Justice Sandra Day O'Connor resigning and being replaced by Justice Samuel Alito. The Supreme Court did many actions. They upheld ban on partial birth abortions, didn't hear a case allowing public schools to use race to have integration, allowed corporations and trade unions to fund campaigns for specific people of public office rather than ones for issues, and eased protections against unreasonable searches by police. There was lots of oppression happening during the time of his serving. For poor people, the Great Recession harmed a lot of them. There was more people below the poverty line, meaning that there was more depression, more shame, and no health insurance for many people. For women and their children are affected more by poverty than a lot of other groups. And there was also lots of violence against women during this time, and the police protection wasn't adequate, and so was the prosecution of abusers. For immigrants, Obama deferred action on immigration legislation. Many states had to make their own immigration laws, and the nation spent many resources on law enforcement activities that related to immigration. For physically or mentally challenged people, despite ADA, many disabled people still lived in institutions and were not able to find a job, and also the poverty rate of the disabled group is higher than the rate of some other racial groups. The oppression continues, and for older people, many didn't have enough savings to retire peacefully. They lacked types of insurances that they needed to live. They faced discrimination by age while trying to get employed. And a lot of frail elderly people found it hard to get help at home, so have to move to other places that they maybe couldn't afford. For LGBT people, despite the legalization later in 2013, there were still many people against same-sex marriage. And for people with criminal records, there was no aftercare after release from prison, there was no treatment for addictions, and there was a high percentage of minority groups in the prisons. And despite African Americans and Latinos making up 27.4% of the overall population in America, there are 60% prisoner populations of those two groups. To finish this up, I just want to give an overview of Obama's presidency. ACA and bank regulations caused a liberal direction of movement in 2010. In 2008, the government had accounted for 26% of the nation's economy. Dodd-Frank bank regulations made policies to prevent future Great Recessions, and he even made policies to avert climate change. And that was pretty hard on him because many corporations didn't really believe in climate change, and he had to fight against that. He also cut the deficit made by loss of government taxes, stopped the military engagements by stopping the Iraq and Afghanistan war, made a Democratic base in presidential elections, meaning more people of color, more women, more educated people, and millennials. He also had landslide victories.